Welcome back. The experiment continues. This is our amendment experiment, and we were running it through fall and spring, and today I'm starting to actually set these beds up, like put in what each bed needs so we can prepare to plant them. We've got to get planting quickly because frost is coming, and I want to put in these cold weather vegetables with enough time so they have a little bit of time to establish before the frost comes. So this bed here is rye and peas for a cover crop. That's actually not going to be planted. We're going to plant it now on the cover crop, but it's not going to be planted in actual vegetables till spring. This bed will be fed with nothing but diluted urine. This one will be fed with nothing but Dyna-Gro. This one is Biochar that has been soaked in Dyna-Gro for multiple days. This one here is 10-10-10. 10-10-10 is a standby in this area. People just throw 10-10-10 down and they plant their fall and their spring crops. So 10-10-10, you could almost consider this a control bed. Alfalfa is getting forked in right here. That bed right there is going to be a lasagna garden. This one is our control. We will put nothing in it. Worm castings over here. This was recommended during my good stream, live stream the other night. Somebody said, worm castings, you got to do worm castings. So, thank you. Now I'm totally broke, but I have worm castings. So we're doing worm castings. The one down in this corner, Dave's Fetid swamp water. Over here, we're doing Steve Solomon's special mix for my soil. And over in this corner, we're going to do the Neptune's Harvest Seaweed and Fish Fertilizer. So right now, what I'm going to do is start working my way through these beds and getting them ready. We'll probably end up planting them tomorrow because I think we're going to run out of light right now. So this video may span over 2 days, but for you it will only be minutes.
Be nice to your mother and always say please. Be loyal to friends and compost your enemies. Be nice to your mother and
this bed right here is the Dave's Fetid Swamp Water bed, DFSW. If you don't know anything about this, you should read my book, Compost Everything. This is one of the best ways to feed a large area with a good mix of nutrients, and it is a foliar feed. It is an anaerobic compost tea, rather like what the Korean natural farmers do. But I have to finish the batch so it'll be ready for when these seedlings start coming up. This drum right here already has in it, I threw in some kelp meal because I don't have seaweed. I often throw seaweed in here, so I threw in a little bit of kelp meal. It's got some comfrey leaves from a friend's garden. It's got some seedlings that I thinned out, and it's got some cow manure in it already, and it's got some shrimp shells and some rotten chicken. So there is a good mix, but it's not good enough. I want a little more. So this is some chicken manure from a friend's place. Gotta be careful with this. This is still hot stuff. And for some pleasant biologicals, this is kimchi brine. And the kimchi Rachel made, it had a red cabbage in it. So this is the brine left over, which has some salt in it, but it also has microorganisms in it. So now we have a clear container to start a new batch of kimchi. And then the secret recipe, super sweet coleslaw from David's Catfish House. Oh yeah. Stuff is way too sweet. But microorganisms love sugar. Another thing that I'm going to put in here that I wasn't able to get before this video is some Epsom salts, which will provide sulfur and magnesium. And when I make a batch of this stuff, it smells horrible. If I have fish guts, I throw that in there sometimes. Whatever I have available goes in here, high nitrogen materials, weeds, all kinds of stuff. And it makes an incredible plant fertilizer as it rots down. It rots down, often leave the batches rotting for months and months and months. I started this batch a little over a week ago, and by the time the seedlings come up in a couple of weeks, this stuff should have rotted together pretty well. And now I have to make sure that I cover it, because if I don't cover it, the mosquitoes may move into it, and we really don't want that. Bed number 2, earthworm castings. I don't have my own worm bin yet, so I had to buy these. And these are expensive. This is Earth Science Eco-Friendly Growth Essentials Earthworm Castings. And it says on the side here to apply a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick layer of earthworm castings directly around the plant and water for best results. Incorporate into soil. Oh boy. We'll see if we make it. So I'm out of the earth science stuff and I haven't made my amount, but Rachel also got a bag of these, so we're going to mix this too. This is Espoma organic earthworm castings. So we will stick these guys on there to cover up the rest of the bed. Very similar. It looks exactly the same. Just watch this nasty, horrible, lousy soil eat those earthworm castings and make it look like nothing happened. It's like the lean cows devouring the fat cows in Pharaoh's dream. What? Did you put an amendment here? I don't see it. This next bed is the charged biochar. This is charged with Dyna-Gro, because if you don't charge biochar, you end up with something that will suck all of the nutrients out of your soil, and you end up with a dead bed for a while often. So what I did was I charged it so I knew that it would be picking up all of the minerals that plants need for growth. So Dyna-Gro was an easy, measurable way to charge it. And so what I did was do 4 times the normal dose of Dyna-Gro in a solution, so it would soak that up and hopefully hold on to it just fine. And I'm going to put a 1/2 inch of biochar over the surface of this bed, and we'll see how much that comes out to. This biochar was put through a 1/2 inch screen and smashed up. There's a lot of small stuff in here. And then it was soaked for between 3 days to 1 week in the solution of Dyna-Gro. Now normally I think it's something like a teaspoon of Dyna-Gro per gallon of water, but I did like 4 times that. It was actually sort of a splash guess. All right, so that is about 1 2/3 5-gallon buckets of char. Now I have to go rinse my hands. Look at the sand eating this biochar. My goodness, the sand, it eats everything. I was hoping it would turn it black, but I don't think so. I don't like sand. It's coarse and irritating. Not like biochar. Soft, crunchy. This next bed is going to be done with Dyna-Gro. This is a formula that has nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, boron, chlorine, cobalt, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, sodium, zinc. This is good stuff for hydroponics systems, but it can also be used as a foliar feed. And for micronutrient deficient soils or plants, this is a good product. So I'm going to test this for the first time. It's been highly recommended to me. So we are going to give it a try. And this bed is just getting that, so we don't need to do anything right now. I'm just going to move on to the next one. This next bed is being done with another foliar fertilizer. This is Urine. This is readily available. A lot of people pitched in, had people all over the country donate, so this bed is going to be it's going to have a good mix of nutrients. That's a joke. That was a joke there. It's not that funny, is it? This is another foliar fertilizer that comes highly recommended. This is Urine. You can dilute it 6 parts water to 1 part urine. And if you don't have any other fertilizer, and if you don't have very much money, it works very well. Very high in nitrogen. It's got a good amount of micronutrients in it. So this bed is just going to be fed with this, but there's nothing we have to do right now to this bed. So we're just going to leave this here until we plant something in it. This bed right here is our 10-10-10 bed. 10-10-10 is supposed to be applied at a rate of 1 pound per 100 square feet, and this being a 5 foot by 5 foot bed, we have a 1/4 pound, which is 4 ounces of evil chemical fertilizer, and that's what this bed is getting, because it gives us a comparison. This bed is the control bed, which means we're not going to put anything in it, so we can see what plants will grow like if we didn't amend whatsoever. It's going to be very sad. This bed here is the bed that gets Steve Solomon's amazing mix. And if you didn't see me mix up this micronutrient, macronutrient, everything awesome, amazing mix from Steve Solomon, I have a video on that. And you'll find it quite interesting, I think, because I called Steve and we talked our way through the recipe over the phone, and I made it live for the first time. So this is getting that stuff, and this has all kinds of different micronutrients in it and macronutrients. It even has sodium molybdate. How many of your garden beds have sodium molybdate in them? This next bed here gets the fish and seaweed fertilizer from Neptune's harvest. This is another one that has been recommended to me. I have not tried it myself. I have made my own fish emulsion multiple times. You can see videos of me doing that. But this is a analyzed product fish and seaweed fertilizer. So this bed is going to get this stuff, and the application rate is 1/8 of a cup per gallon of water. Feed vegetables, flowers, trees, and shrubs every 1 to 2 weeks. So this is the way we're going to do this particular bed, but there's nothing I have to do right now. This next bed here gets a cover crop. We're not going to plant our normal plants into it. It's getting Frostmaster peas. Frostmaster was an old rapper. I don't know if you guys remember Frostmaster, but he was really big on cover crops. Frostmaster and Winter Rye. Winter Rye ended up on Death Row Records later. Changed his name to Young Weedy. This is the automated method. Now, a lot of people have talked about what a good thing alfalfa is for the garden. It's got growth stimulants in it, it's got nitrogen in it. It's supposed to be fantastic. So I got ground up alfalfa to put on this bed. Let's give it a nice generous layer of alfalfa. It smells good too. This is just one I'm kind of interested in just because, just for the heck of it, you know? Unlike the rest of these beds, this one is marked out, but it's mostly flat. So this is harder ground here. It's not mounded up and piled up like the rest of the beds. And that's because this bed is going to be our no-till lasagna bed, or a deep mulch bed, however you want to say it. But in order to actually create this thing, I've got to get some materials together. This is a little more resource intensive, but I've got to go get some stuff, and then we'll put this together.
there. Get out of my mulch,
Come on,
you
go,
dirty
go, 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 go.
tiller.
Get it, get it, get it.
Go.
Good morning. I think I got everything I need for this lasagna bed. This right here is some rabbit and poultry manure, which has been composted. Old stuff. And this is going to go down here to kind of, what you do is you put your first little layer down to stimulate the ground and hopefully get worms to show up and all that kind of good stuff. And the ground has already been wet once, but I should probably wet it again because I'm not that convinced that it's soaked in as well as I would like. But what we're going to do as we go along here is just wet the living daylights out of this ground, layer by layer, and soak it in, because what you don't want to do with a lasagna garden is trap in dry ground underneath. Just like, talk about how much, wow, you hardly have to water when you put all this mulch down. Yeah, if you put mulch down over a dry area, you can barely get it wet. It takes a long time to wet it, and we don't want that. We want the roots to go down and find wet ground. Now we put down a cardboard layer. This is the weed block layer. There's probably a little bit of grass. I know there's some grass roots that are still alive in this turned area, but this is what you normally do when you put down a lasagna bed, so we are going to do it, even though there's probably a minimal amount of weeds we have to worry about. Throw some alfalfa on here. Alternate between your green and brown layers, like a cake. Got some paper. That's good. I love paper bags because you can actually just compost them much better than plastic bags. I wish that all bags were paper bags. Now we have some shreds which contain leaves, wood chips, which I was just really lucky to find at some personal cost. The next layer is some composted cow manure, which came from a neighbor's yard. And it had some tomatoes growing in it, so hopefully it's not contaminated with herbicides. I've raked all these to nice even seed beds now. Every one of them is prepared. Every one of them is ready to go. We just have to seed. And in order to seed, I'm going to use a special tool.
Okay, I built this seeder for my dad's 5-foot bed experiment. So this is 5 feet long, and these are about a foot apart on center, so you know exactly where to put your seed. So you just put it on the ground like this, and step it down, and it makes perfect indents in the ground at about 1 foot apart, down 5 feet of bed.
The ends of this are at 1 foot lengths, so I can kind of gauge. And let's see if it works. It does. Planting Red King hybrid specialty radishes. This is a large radish from Johnny's. We are planting White Lady turnips, Sugar Snap peas. We have Morris Heading collards from Sand Hill Preservation Center. Thank you, Wendy, for those. And we have hybrid round red beets, also from Johnny's. And we're going to plant them in the same row on all of these beds, except for the one bed which is just covered with cover crops, and we're going to have to stop at the lasagna bed because we have to do something special for there. So you ready? Hey, Mark. Get set. Go. Go. This last bed needs a little special treatment. I can't just plant seeds into this mulch. They pretty much almost always won't do well that way. So it takes a little longer to plant lasagna bed. And what I want to do here is puncture the cardboard down below, and then we put a little pocket of compost that the seed can grow down into. And so this is going to take a little while. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the pasta. These compost pockets really take some time. But that is the last one. So now we plant. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this whole experiment turns out. I am excited to see the side-by-side and see what we can learn from this entire process. And I'm excited that I can do this with an audience, so hopefully I will save you guys some experimenting. Though, you know, I always encourage you to test and try things. As a garden writer, before I was doing much on YouTube, I did a lot of experiments in the backyard. You know, side by side. Here's square foot gardening. There's a John Jeevons biointensive bed. There's a Ruth Stout style bed. And it gave me fodder to write about. Instead of just saying, I heard about this method, I could say I tried it. Here's how it worked in my Florida sand. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't. Here's what I recommend. Here's what I could try next time. Here's which crops thrived. Here's which things didn't do well. You know, this is how you learn, and everybody's backyard is different. Not everybody has enough space to do all this kind of trial work, side-by-side stuff. So, you know, sacrificing a little bit of this yard here and a little bit of, you know, the methods, I know that would be really productive back here. Sacrificing some of them for some space that may or may not work. You know, maybe it'll help you guys. And it's always something that you can learn from and that I'll learn from. You know, maybe that alfalfa will really completely take off and be amazing. Maybe it'll turn out that this manure, even though I thought it was safe, was actually contaminated with aminopyralids, and we can watch it die in real time. You know, maybe Steve's mix doesn't do as well as Dave's Fetid swamp water. I don't know. It's exciting, isn't it? And I'm trying to use what I know to be high quality seeds too, and I'm overplanting so we can thin out, because what I don't want to do is have problems like, oh, we've got germination issues, which just kind of throws the whole experiment off, makes us start again. And of course we're already starting late in the year. And I am going to carry this through into the spring so we can see how things continue to do. A lasagna bed, you know, gets better as it ages. That biochar might be better after it's been in the ground for a year or two and get some soil life in it. We may have to go and buy more worm castings. Or maybe by then I will have my own worm bin. Don't know. I'm working on it. We'll see. But what I do know is this is a ton of fun. And I wouldn't trade backyard gardening for just about anything, especially when I have my lovely wife helping me. All right, there we go. The experiment is officially underway. It's been planted. We should have germination starting within a week or so. And as that happens, of course, I will film and you can join me and see what happens with this excitement. We're supposed to get some rain this weekend. I hope so. But if not, I'm going to be dragging the hose out here a lot because I don't have irrigation yet. But we do know that all this needs to be watered right now, so I better get on that. I'm going to let you guys go, and thanks for joining me for this long, cool video. I think it was cool, and if you don't think it was cool, well, I can't fix you. Have a great weekend, and until next time, may your thumbs always be green.
Buried my rabbit neath the cherry tree one fine afternoon. Someday I know that we'll meet again on a fruit salad spoon.